I recognize the Reverend Shelly Banner and Ms. Karen Anderson, who served as co-chairs of the Deputation to General Convention, who will now give their report.
A joyful noise for all, even though we're gathered in different places. And I would say that the 100 different kinds of things that happened at general conventions include all of the 829 deputies, 239 alternate deputies, 167 bishops, all with the support staff that's required to take care of all those people for 10 days in the city of Louisville. Or, Karen, you should correct my pronunciation now. Louisville. Took me a long time. It changed that city by about 10,000 people. Typically, General Convention happens every 3 years, and it is the Episcopal Church's largest gathering. And I confess to you, my brothers and sisters, that I love General Convention. I could go to General Convention for weeks on end. I am probably not the typical deputy, but I sure think it's a great thing. During the time deputies are gathered, they will do worship. They will do lots of networking and fellowship and social events and church governance. It's a bicameral kind of situation. We have a House of Deputies, a House of Bishops. Both houses, which meet and act separately, must concur to adopt legislation. The primary tasks of every general convention are to adopt a budget, to hold elections for the seats on the interim bodies that govern in between times of convention, and consider hundreds, literally hundreds, of resolutions on a range of topics, anything from authorizing a new liturgy or use of new liturgies, modifying governance structures to the church public policies, and even such as merging dioceses. Once changes have been made, the Office of Government Relations is tasked with carrying out much of the public policy and advocacy on behalf of the church, and it is directly guided by the resolutions passed. It classifies its ministry into 5 policy areas, which will seem very familiar to you. Things like creation care, ending poverty, migration, immigration, human rights, and peace building and racial reconciliation. Our Diocese of Central New York Deputation for General Convention number 81 was a well-functioning deputation, and I was proud to serve with each of them. The members were Shelly Banner, Megan Castellan, Dawn Victoria Mitchell, Rebecca Roberts, and alternate Taylor Danes in the clergy outlet. And our lay deputies were Karen Anderson, Adam Ferguson, Felicity Hallinan, Pam Talbot with the alternate Kate Bell. Although the conventions run separately but simultaneously, also the Episcopal Church women celebrated their 50th triennial, 150 years of their existence. And our delegation members from Central New York were Jennifer Canal, who holds a certain sense of power within that organization, and Penny Dugas, Gail Jones, and Lee Wakefield. And on behalf of those ladies, I remind you to continue gathering your coins and dollars in your UTO offering, because it's brought forward every 3 years, and they choose worthy projects to fund. The flow of General Convention, besides not sleeping quite enough, eating well and probably too well, exploring many of the sites of the evening, we worked hard. Out of 396 resolutions, yes, you heard that right, 396, submitted to General Convention, 193 resolutions were concurred and adopted by the House of Bishops, and 47 resolutions were adopted and sent on by the House of Deputies. 59 additional resolutions were concurred by both houses and then sent on to smaller interim bodies to oversee them. At least it would seem that the deputations just sit and rubber stamp things for the whole body. 14 resolutions fell to the fate of take no further action. That renders them dead in the water, so to speak. 5 resolutions were not concurred. 2 resolutions received no action, and 15 resolutions were outright rejected by the body. All resolutions are identified by letter. The letters mean something. A is a resolution that comes from a commission, a committee, an agency, or a board. B resolutions are those that are submitted by the bishops. C resolutions come from the provinces or dioceses, and D resolutions are those submitted by the deputies. The letter is followed by a number, and there were 396. I want to give you some example of what would fall in each category. A164 was a budget that includes 140 full-time staff positions, program monies, initiatives in key ministry areas, and although some leaders called for an increased spending on creation care. The plan also included $2 million for unfunded resolutions, which often happen, and our new presiding bishop to oversee a cost reduction in the budget of $3.6 million through some kind of strategic realignment. B11 is a resolution that came from Bishop Andy Doyle of Texas. It was concurred and for the commemoration of Harriet Ross Tubman on March 10th. You know, we celebrated that, but each one of these things have to be brought before the convention twice before it becomes rule. It also included that she will be put in the church calendar year and all revisions of lesser fasts and feasts. Resolution C9 proposed changing Navajo land from an area mission into a missionary diocese. A missionary diocese in the Episcopal Church is established in areas where the church is newly expanding or has a small presence, often relying on support from the broader church. These dioceses emphasize evangelism, outreach, and adaptability to grow a local congregation and engage deeply within those communities. Missionary dioceses are allowed to elect their own bishop rather than have one appointed by the interim bodies. Resolution C32 is very dear to my heart. It is a resolution to recognize a particular prayer written to remember them. It is to remember all the Indigenous children who were in residential and boarding schools in Canada and the United States. This prayer will now be official in the Episcopal Church for commemorating the lives lost, and its use will be encouraged in liturgies throughout the church. And there is a website which I'm sure can be downloaded on the Diocesan website to find this prayer. It is full of lovely, heartfelt language. Courtesy resolutions, we know about those, the ones that we thank everybody for everything. The most unique courtesy resolution was the celebration about the anniversary of the Philadelphia 11, naming the 11 women and the 3 bishops who ordained them. And as a show of influence in this event and the richness that it is added in our church, all the female clergy in the house were invited to stand and receive recognition. The film of the same name was shared through the auspices of the ECW that anyone could go see who hadn't seen it. Many resolutions acted in tandem, such as A10, 11, 12, and D007 and D056, all of which were moral calls to condemn the attack and seek a ceasefire in the Holy Land. One of the most discussed set of resolutions each condemned the attack and authorized the Office of the Government Relations to advocate for continued human rights and for the rapid provision of food support in that area. Key points of debate in these resolutions was the inclusion or exclusion of the terms apartheid state and terrorists. Ultimately, the House of Deputies and the House of Bishops did not agree on the use of the terms. House of Deputies in favor and House of Bishops not. So A10 was rejected by the House of Bishops, and the results of A11 and 12 ended in take no further action. And through all of this, and our very hard legislation day, there emerged a resolution known as D056, authored by our very own Reverend Canon Megan L. Castellan. This provided evidence of both compromise and living the middle way, an important Episcopal value. The final deposition of it was concurred upon with amendment. It's easy to see the working of the Episcopal Church at General Convention. It's really the macrocosm of the whole church. Everyone is represented there. It functions well at home and abroad. It is an international convention. It exhibits a fine example of working from disagreement to compromise and gives an opportunity to showcase the values held and the strength and courage of conviction exhibited within the entire body. And I respectfully submit this report. Reverend Shelly Banner.
Thank you to our deputation and our deputation co-chairs for your faithfulness in this work.